From KSMQ in southern Minnesota, this is Off 90. Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
One of my earliest and fondest memories is of my mother playing the piano for church when I was just a small child. And I remember as young as even 4 or 5 just looking up to her and wanting to play like she did someday. I remember she picked me up at school the last day of first grade and told me that she had a surprise and that I was starting piano the next day, and I loved it ever since. So similarly, my girls saw me playing. The older 2 go to Mayo High School. Bethany's 12th grade.
My name is Bethany Hagen, and I'm an 18-year-old pianist. I think just seeing relatives play, especially my mom and dad, I just wanted to follow in their footsteps.
And Christina's 10th grade.
I thought it sounded good the other day. I don't know. I kept messing up on it at my lesson.
I don't know, I find piano really rewarding. All the family members, my great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, my older sister, they had all played the piano, and I just wanted to be as good as them.
And Mary goes to RCLS, Rochester Central Lutheran, and she's in the 5th grade.
My name is Mary, and I'm a 10-year-old piano player. I remember when my grandparents used to call and my sisters would play the piano.
I don't have a first memory. I just remember it was always going on at our house and at our church. And we had a piano growing up, so it was all around me.
I started playing because my sisters did it, and I thought they were so cool, so. Yeah, I wanted to be just like them because they were awesome.
My grandfather had a piano.
Both sets of my grandparents always had a piano, and I always just knew that there was a piano and I was dying to play it. So.
My husband and I feel like it's really leaving a legacy with them because it's kind of been a generational thing. We're passing the baton from one generation to the next. On his side of the family too. His grandmother, which would be my girl's great-grandmother, was a very accomplished pianist. His mother played as well, so definitely the girls got it from both sides pretty deep into the ancestry. And when they were little, they said, "Mommy, when do I get to start taking piano lessons?" So I started each of my girls the summer after first grade, and here we are.
At the beginning, my teacher made me practice 40 minutes per day, and I was doing really easy tunes. It was a lot of time, and I was only in 2nd grade, so I guess those were the only few months when I considered quitting.
Sorry. I don't think it was a thought that even crossed my mind. I really loved the piano from the first day.
Makes me feel happy. Yeah, just makes me feel good.
It's been really interesting to see because they've each kind of taken a different path with what they like to do.
Here, Mary. Get through.
My oldest daughter, Bethany, really loves to accompany. She's accompanied people at church and really has a passion for that, and she's gotten quite good at it.
I've played solos for large groups of people, but I get pretty nervous doing that. Accompanying is kind of my niche because I don't feel as nervous doing it. I feel very comfortable doing it.
Also, she's able to memorize just tons of pages of music at one time, and so I think it helps with school, just in the ability to memorize. And with Christina, she's gone a little different direction. She likes to compose music, so recently she wrote a song for our children's choir at church. Also this year, I just noticed a new level of intensity with her. Just really able to focus and be very intentional about her playing from the first note to the last note.
I tend to be really expressive when I play. I think I can't really play a great song and sit still. So I find that I move a lot to express the different emotion in the piece.
Then for Mary, she's just 10. She's only in her 4th year of piano.
It's really fun to learn new songs. My teacher's really nice. Her name is Mrs. Madsen, so I look forward to seeing her every week. I love fast songs.
She's good at playing classical music, but she likes the quick staccato songs better.
So we'll wait and see which direction she takes with it.
Well, every year I usually work on a piece from each time period. I like songs that have a lot of difficult fingering passages. I like the technically difficult ones, like the juggler. It's very quick and lots of cool fingering. It just feels good when I play it. I guess I'm a little bit more reserved when I play. Christina is very expressive.
I just go play a really loud song. And my dad normally is like, be quiet. You need to play a little bit softer. So I make the most noise, I think.
Normally when we come home, Bethany uses the piano, and then Christina and I just practice whenever somebody's not using it.
We kind of have an unspoken agreement that I come home and practice first at 2:30. And sometimes we have little debates about if that should happen or not. And then they usually practice later in the evening.
Most days, 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. It depends on who's getting ready. As we're getting ready for competitions, it gets played a lot. Occasionally we'll all be upstairs in the kitchen and someone will sneak off downstairs to play and the other one will roll her eyes. Oh no, I was just about to go practice.
I think it's taught me that I'm not the only person living in this house and I have to respect other people's time.
To be truly excellent at something, you can't just dabble in it. So we put a lot of effort into it and it takes a lot of practice.
Practicing the piano isn't something that my parents forced me to do or that I dread. I just love practicing and playing, and I even love competitions. I think it's really invigorating. Playing the piano is really relaxing. I find it's really great thinking time. We start our songs in the summer and we have to continue playing them through the following March, and by then we're all kind of sick of each other's songs.
If they play the same song over and over and over in one practice session.
Sometimes we get a little bit tired of them.
Christina, Bethany, stop playing that song.
But otherwise, yeah, I love hearing everybody practice. We run around whistling and humming each other's songs all of the time.
There's been surely opportunities for them to encourage each other, given that they've been blessed with the talent to really strive for excellence, to be diligent, to practice, and then to take what they've got and share it with others and be a blessing to other people.
Piano has taught me a lot of skills in life, and I think it's great because I can love something so much but be learning at the same time.
And I like knowing I've accomplished something.
Continually building on what you've learned and being satisfied with just mastering like a little piece of the song is a good life skill.
Like endurance, I can normally start out pretty strong, but you have to keep going until the very end.
Also to be gracious winners as well as gracious losers, because in life we'll have some successes and some failures. Well, we're still having fun with it.
This is what we do before every contest because they're usually in the winter and everyone's hands are cold. So
I think if someone came to me and said, your daughter just looks miserable, then we would reconsider. But as long as they're still smiling and enjoying it, we'll keep at it.
My grandfather calls every week and we play for him over the phone, and recently my grandmother Skyped and we played the piano for her friends that were visiting.
My grandmother played the piano for us when she was 99 a couple of years ago, and I just think that's so cool that I'm doing the same thing that she's doing at that age.
Really, we haven't been grooming them to be professional pianists. We've always viewed piano as a hobby and as a ministry, so we'll see where that takes them.
I would say go for it, definitely. It's one of the best things in my life. I just love it so much.
I spend a lot of time doing the piano, but life wouldn't be the same if that's all I did. I love to water ski and play tennis and hang out with my friends. I love school and I spend a lot of time at school and at church.
Mama, what's for dinner? I play tennis and basketball and flute, and I love to water ski and play outside, play DS, play video games.
I like to read. I like to bake banana bread. I like to water ski when it's warm enough in the summer.
My advice would be don't just be the transportation to the lesson and back, but to really be a cheerleader and an advocate for your child at home. And then for me, I think realizing I have a daughter going off to college, I often try to just pull up a chair and listen to their practice session, and that's encouraging to them that I want to spend time just listening to them. I guess as much time and effort as we've poured into piano, I'm pretty happy to say I'm Julianne Hagen and I'm a piano mom.
I think my fiance's exact words are history geek. The headquarters building, originally this was downtown on Main Street. And one fellow, no need to remember. I am more along the lines of a young guy that likes climb on up, and I just think I'm just one of those unique people that are young and understand history and want to help preserve it. These bricks are about 100 years old. This is what I went to school for. This is what I was trained to do and what I like doing. So to be this young and working with so many old things doesn't bother me. You can see here, this would have been the people that retired from the mechanics department at Hormel. But then a lot of the people that are involved with historical museums or societies are much, much older than I am. I bring the new modern museum way of doing things. You know, I was always interested in history more so than anyone else my age growing up. My great-grandpa actually was a big history buff, and he kind of led me that direction. When I went off to college, I actually changed majors 3 times. I started at aquatic biologist, then I went to science education. And then I was in my first history class and it just clicked. This is what I need to do. This is what I want to do. So that's at that point when I switched over to being a history major. Because this is where they originally organized the church here in 1857. There's one moment in my life that does stand out in my head as something, if I could go back and change, I would. When my great-grandfather and grandmother had moved into the nursing home, we were cleaning out their house and getting things ready for auction. Well, my cousin and I were in the basement and we found this box of postcards from family members in England writing back to our American family members around the turn of the century. And we're sitting there going through this and we asked our grandpa what we should do with it, and he basically said just throw it out. My cousin and I both looked at each other like, why are we doing this? But, well, grandpa said so, so let's just do it. And I think after that, both of us kind of kicked ourselves and said we would have done it differently. If I had that moment back again, I would have kept all of those and still had them to this day. Well, I guess the coolest thing I've ever seen was my senior year of college, I got to go to Italy for spring break. So I was in Florence, in Venice, went to Rome for a day. So getting to see something that's well beyond the American experience and getting to walk the same streets as the Medici family or Leonardo da Vinci, and that is just amazing. I actually got to stand in the office of Machiavelli, just to stand in his office and just think of the things that he came up with. That was just amazing to me. I think a lot of people would say I'm kind of out there, go-getter, idea-driven, and all of the equipment that the Hormel Construction Department would have used is in this building. Depending on who you talk to, probably stubborn. I usually want things done a certain way. Anybody wants that, and but also I try to find that middle ground and be the compromiser. But really, it's a young guy and a bunch of other volunteers and staff that are running around making it work and making things happen. The biggest push in the last few years is to digitize everything. Make your collection available online while we're trying to adjust to the new age coming through to see the next generation coming up that's going to be your main clientele. How do they want to receive services, or how do they want their experience to be? So this is a World War II era M4 Sherman tank.
Your white suit, tap shoes and tails, put it in backward when forward fails.
And originally it had a fencing around it. We repainted it as part of the Minnesota Sesquicentennial in 2008. You're getting into the millennial generation, which is more my generation, where I want it here, I want it now. So this is one of the original plant buildings. So you gotta adapt to that experience of, well, how much can I give you, but enough to get you to keep, coming my way. To show people the contrast, this is how we did it. Just to get that continuum story of showing people how things are different from what they were. These were like the P.O. boxes out of, I believe this was out of the Elkton post office. This is just not something that belongs to me. It doesn't just belong to our board or our members or our volunteers. This is something that's for everyone. This is your historical site. It's not ours, it's yours. We need the public to help us. It's not something we can just simply do on our own anymore. If you value history and everything that we've done, step up and help us out, then support us, come be a volunteer out here. There's always cool stuff out here. It's a replica of an original cabin, and it's never ending. It could be the 12-year-old that loves climbing up on the train and blowing the whistle at Christmas time or ringing the bell, to the 80-year-old kid that likes going up and doing the exact same thing. We've got something for every age, and it doesn't matter how old you are.
No need to remember when, 'cause everything old is new again.
This was the last set of trains that came through the depot. Being my age and trying to understand exactly what a lot of this stuff is a lot harder. I grew up in a rural community, but I didn't live on the farm. So it's something you learn on the fly and just pick up what you can. There's a lot of museum directors that have, MBAs or, were accountants or marketing people. And so they have to learn the history, the preservation side of it. But for me, it was just the opposite. For me, it's kind of picking up the business end of it, the marketing end of it. I am the promoter, the marketer, the part-time researcher, the grant writer, the part-time maintenance person, even the part-time volunteers. So I have to constantly be learning how preservation and conservation techniques are changing, but at the same time I've got to adapt to learn what's the latest marketing craze and how could we use it. This is the most recently built building here on the fairgrounds. It's one of those things where you learn something every day, you meet somebody new every day. No 2 days are the same. You could be researching something and then just totally take a twist and somebody will come in for research or just come in and just start telling a story of their life growing up or things that they've done, and it's just so interesting to sit there and listen to people talk about what their life was like and how it's so much different than what people of my generation will ever experience. But this we set up as this side mostly is a military display. There's days where it's just hectic and you can't wait to go home, but for the most part it's a lot of fun. I would say the biggest thing I learned is it's okay to fail. If something really is just not working out, it's okay to just say, okay, I screwed up. In order to learn how to succeed, sometimes you have to fail. 10 years from now, I would like to probably still be running a museum. Hopefully it's more successful than where I found it, and then I've made it grow. And becoming that person that people recognize as, this guy knows what he's doing. The old mantra is, you have to know where you came from to know where you're going. History, I think, is cool no matter what.
Everything old is new again. We're from Minnesota. We like this place we stay. And if you do not care for it, you can go to Hagen. All right, from the top.
Every part of the United States has its own culture, but Minnesota definitely has its own personality. You walk down the street, especially in your small towns, everyone waves and says hi.
Well, I've heard from a lot of people from out of town that have said, wow, you guys are really friendly. I think that people do view us as pretty friendly, which is good. We've got our 4 seasons and we got our friendly folk.
I've been to Texas a few times and people just don't have a friendly disposition.
Well, I have never heard anything derogative about Minnesotans.
I've traveled around this country quite a bit, and I really believe the Minnesota people have better manners and are pretty much more well-behaved than a lot of the other parts in this country.
Everything I've heard has been good.
I come from Iowa. Iowa has the same amount of goodness in people as Minnesota does.
Oh, basically, Minnesota nice to me means when you're going to a store, you hold the door open for the next person. You're always looking out for the interests of others, and
I believe I am. I would like to think so.
She is. Minnesotans are friendly, welcoming people that are kind and thoughtful.
I like being nice to everybody, and because if you're nice to them, they'll be nice to you, and that's a good thing in life.
I do. I take pride in being Minnesota nice.
It's just to have the common courtesy to treat everybody equally the same of how you'd want to be treated.
Just help out your neighbors and other people in the community and hopefully get a little bit of that help back when you need it.
Basically not being afraid to say hi to anybody, no matter who they are.
It means that you are friendly, you speak to people that you see. If anybody needs help, you help them.
Just say hello, how you doing today, and that's mainly normally what most people do.
If you portray a confident, friendly attitude, people reciprocate that.
I don't know, it's always just been, for me, the natural thing.
Oh, you're nice to everybody that comes around, and you say hi to everybody in the morning, or you walk in the store and say hi, how you doing, and people ask you questions, you tell them what they got to know and where to go, and just be courteous to everybody.
It's the right thing to do. I mean, I don't believe in holding grudges against the world and letting it show.
I like people that are nice.
You just put whatever you have inside you aside for the day and you just enjoy the moment.
We pick up a lot of garbage.
Well, if I see an older person having trouble walking, I'll help them get to their car.
But yeah, we try and keep the town looking good.
If you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you.
I guess mostly I offer a smile and a hello to strangers.
If you're not, I'll try to, but if you don't want to be, I'll just ignore you. And
if I do see a car broke down, someone's walking or sitting there, I'll stop and help them.
Well, I am one of those waivers, and just being courteous.
People generally are happier and more positive with you when you do that.
you can tell ones that really don't want to be nice to you. They'll just, you know, just, and you try, but then give up.
There is a point where you look at someone and go, okay, that's a little overboard, and you don't want to be too squishy.
You can be fake, but I don't think anybody can be too nice.
Probably. I think that you get too nice, people take advantage of you still. Expect you to do it all the time. And
I've never met anybody that was too nice.
No.
We got the Minnesota Vikings, the Twins with North Stars too. The ideas, all them lakes, don't forget to zoos. Yes, we're from Minnesota, we like this place we stay. And if you do not care for it, you can go to hate. Yes, we're from Minnesota, we like this place.
That's it for now. But join us again next week for Off 90. Meanwhile, let us know what you think and tell us about any interesting people, places, or stories that you want to see here in the coming weeks. Then watch for the KSMQ crew out there, around your town, in our communities, along the back roads. Wherever arts, culture, and history can be found in southern Minnesota, that's where we'll be. But you can be sure we'll always be Off 90. Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.